Good morning. It is 6:49 a.m. on Friday, April the 6th, 2018. I'm Christiana Ellis and I just got up. This is 5 more minutes. Uh Things to talk about are what I am trying to imagine, and instead of doing that, I am doing some weird sort of thing where I pretend it's interesting to discuss my train of thought while I try to think of conversational topics instead of actually picking one and doing something. And then I could just keep doing this for a while, but I don't know that it's actually that interesting. How are you guys? um, Yesterday I watched the season finale of The Magicians, and I have to say, I think that although I'm not necessarily happy about how all of the different characters, the situation they're left in, I'm not going to spoil it exactly, but I think it was a great season overall, and I'm just very pleased with that show generally. I think, I've talked about it before, how the show starts more or less following the books with a few tweaks, but then just kind of veers off onto its own, incorporating some elements from the books, but mostly just saying, hey, we've got these great characters and this great cast and a fun world, so let's play in it. And so, but I think this season has been just extra great. And a lot of cool stuff going on. But yeah, so the season finale, I think, just caps off a season that I'm just very, very pleased with. I recommend that show a lot. Like I've talked about before, the show does occasionally incorporate things that I'm sure are, uncomfortable or deal breakers for some people. There is a rape plot in season one, and at least, I mean, I don't have personal, um, uh, I guess, triggers. I don't know about that, uh, but I know some people do, and I know that I've talked to people who said that they just couldn't get past that part of it, and it just made it unpleasant for them to watch, and I could totally see that. But that said, I mean, I think once you kind of get through that, the show is great. And then I also I didn't watch this week's episode yet, but I watched the first two episodes of Kyrpton, and I'm kind of irritated because it's better than it has any right to be so far. I kind of was opposed to it just on principle, kind of like with Gotham, which I watched a couple of episodes of Gotham and they gave up on it pretty quickly. Um, just because with Gotham, what it really felt like to me is, hey, let's tell the part of the Batman story that nobody tells because it's not that interesting. Yeah, let's tell a Batman story that doesn't have Batman in it. And that's obviously, I believe as a storyteller that, you can make a story interesting. It doesn't have to be entirely reliant on the premise. It's all about execution. But I just feel like that's just in my own head. It seems like getting off to a bad start. Um, it's like Patton Oswalt's joke about the Star Wars prequels. It's like, you like Darth Vader? You think he's really cool? He's badass and he's a Force user and he kills people. Got the cool mask. Well, how'd you like to see him as a little kid? Well, I maybe not. um, but uh, so and also just the general problem with any kind of a prequel setting is that it inherently limits your storytelling potential because you're going to be forced essentially to arrest the progress of your characters because you still want to play with the fiction that they're going to develop into the story we know later, but you can't let that happen because then the show will be over. And that was an issue with Smallville, I think, and years ago. And so the idea of Kyrpton, when I was hearing about it in advance, is like, why? Why? Why tell that story? But then when I heard that they were setting it 200 years prior, and it was about Superman's grandfather, it's like, oh, well, I mean, you could tell a story there, and you can basically just take the idea of having to deal with baby Kal-El and the blowing up of Krypton. You can just have that be sort of off the table. Like maybe we know that happens eventually in the future, but the story that this show is going to tell is not that at all. And I mean, the problem they have with that is that it separates them yet further from anything actually related to Superman personally as an existing character. So you diminish your connection to the whole property. But the show's actually kind of good so far. At least the first two episodes show promise. Anyway, it's got an interesting, diverse cast. I like the leads Smolder. Um, got some various moving pieces involved, and I'm interested. Yeah. So in any event, I'll leave it there for today, and I will talk to you all tomorrow for 5 more minutes.